your turn comes, you give the mic to him. After you finish here, you say a few minutes in your time. You say director's message is there. Every put.
And then you must
At the flag button. Next.
Mic ಬೇಕಲ್ಲ?
Yes, sir. Many, sir. Please.
Mic.
Okay, let's start the next part of our program, which is a very interesting panel discussion. 1 minute. So can I request Professor Dr. S.S. Murthy to please come on stage? So he was a long time professor in IIT Delhi, and now he is with IIT Dharwad. He ಬರ್ತೀನಿ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡಿ ಬನ್ನಿ ಅಲ್ಲ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜಸ್ ಬನ್ನಿ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಓಕೆ ಯಾ ಸೊ he is instrumental in calling EGNA to join the Academic Governing Council. Welcome Professor Murthy sir. Dr. Gopal Mugeraya is one more of the beneficiaries of Jambavanta effect, but he could not make it today. But we'll reach with him. Dr. Ullas Karanth. So I am sure you will recognize him with the tiger, right? Son of great Shivram Karanth, a great environmental researcher, and he also runs an institution called Center for Wildlife. So welcome to you, sir. Representing the NITK Alumni Association, Mr. S.R. Bala, a long time professional manager at Reliance, ex-vice president, and is a very senior office bearer in the NITK Alumni Association. So thank you very much. And he is one of the hosts of the event. Thank you very much to you and Trade Post and all the alumni who are co-hosting this event. Mr. H.V.S. Krishna sir, please join us. I took this photo from your LinkedIn profile. So Laghu Udyog Bharti, as the name itself indicates, is a trade body of MSME sector. So there are a lot of state chapters and there is also a national chapter. So H.V.S. Krishna served as the past president of LUB at the national level. So he is a commerce graduate and 35 years in the industry. Great. Welcome to you, sir. Mr. B.V. Naidu, so a technocrat. So if you see a lot of software companies around here in the 90s time frame, he was very instrumental as director of STPI in Bangalore and Hyderabad. And he is also runs a angel group called Startup Exceed and a support system called The Gain. Sir, I will definitely seek an appointment with you to find out how we can collaborate and work together. And he volunteers, advises a lot of programs of Government of Karnataka. And in this panel discussion, he will throw us some insights about that. To moderate this discussion, I will call my colleague Ramakrishna Upadhyay. So he is actually a journalist and of nearly 4 decades, and he really helped. I worked closely with him for last few months to leading towards this program. So he is a recipient of Karnataka Rajyotsava Award in year 2005, right? And he was the past president of. Sir, आप ऊपर आइए sir, please. नहीं. So he will moderate the discussion. But before we go to moderating the discussion, let us hear it from as I told you, the great the great Trade Post magazine. So here is co-founder of Trade Post magazine. He will address and then lead to the discussion, sir.
Good morning, friends.
7 minutes.
No problem. I am connected with the watch industry these last 60 years. And I have seen the development, growth, setbacks, plus, minus, everything of this industry. And of course, we must give credit to HMT, who gave the first India's watch in public sector. And Mr. Yadnarayan, I came to know, since last about 50 years I know him, And he started, when he was working with HMT, I think he was the first to bring quartz technology in India. He went to Japan, the first batch. At that time, Mr. Amita was there, a lot of people. And I met a number of personalities in the watch industry and trade. And in this, some of the personalities really have inspired me also. And in that, I would not like to name all, but of course, I was very much inspired with late I.K. Amita, whom I could see, he could understand, of course, my selfishness, but he could understand my role in this industry. I really pay my tributes to his late soul. Another personality which I would like to mention is Success Desai, late Success Desai. He inspired me a lot. And he inspired, of course, entire industry and trade, but I am very much inspired and I learned a lot from him as far as I am concerned. Third, Bhaskar Bhatt. I know him since 1986, if I am not mistaken, when he entered from Tata Press to start the watch business, watch industry. And he was it was named as Time Products, if I am not mistaken. Still I remember, I am 87, but I know how Titan did the journey. And at that time, Bhaskar used to, because it was import license, Raj, and Bhaskar used to indent for the small assemblers who are interested in getting movements. And it was mechanical. But since then, I was in good contact with him, and we had a lot of interactions. From that day onwards till today, 86 and now 2021, I am really, Mr. Bhaskar, you inspired me a lot. I have learned from you many things as a person, as an entrepreneur, what one should do, and simple, very simple at heart, good human being. So, lot of qualities are there, but of course, I am not speaking more about Bhaskar today. But in those type of personalities, I am proud to mention the name of Mr. Yad Narayan. Yad Narayan, I know him since last about 40-50 years, if I am not mistaken, Yad Narayan. We used to meet at West End in the afternoon sometimes, have a glass of beer. Of course, he was not drinking. Let me tell that. But we used to interact about this industry and trade. And the thing which I could see in him, after so many years, of course, because I was also young at that time. Of course, I think you are younger only 10 years to me. 15, okay. So no problem, but I can match. So what happened that we used to interact a lot of things and all, but I could see that he is a gentleman who really who would like to know, understand and do business in a proper and the best manner. I could see a man who is humble at heart, hard-working, karma yogi, I always say, workaholic, and simple. Simple living, high thinking, this is Mr. Yad Narayan. And the book which is being published today, we are instrumental as Trade Post, and since 6 months things were under print and all that things were done. And I went through a number of pages, of course my article is also there, but I could see Bhaskar's article, Mr. Venkatraman's article and other articles and all that. It is inspiring and it speaks a lot about Yadnaran, his activities, his way of business as a person, and we all can learn from him. Now, as far as this book is concerned, it has been published with a joint collaboration of this institution, Alumni Association and Trade Post. And it was printed, Mr. Bhaskar, you'll be happy, in Mumbai. Hemal took a lot of pains, and he never informed me that he is doing this. But it's all right. I was very happy, on the contrary, at that time, that he could do such a good job. And this book, Mr. Yadnaran, and also Hemal will give more details and all that. But you know, we are trying to involve the watch trade. Mr. Bhaskar, you will appreciate, we are trying to involve the watch trade to get this book. And from that, for that, different associations, we already contacted them, and Hemal will give more details to all of you. So that the watch trade also can understand, can be motivated through this book. And let us hope we'll be able to satisfy you. I will not take much of your time. Because आप आ गए, अच्छा लगता है, थोड़ा लेट हो गया. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Hello. Hello. Is it working? Okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. So we have chosen a topic which is most appropriate for today's time, right? So I request Ramakrishna Upadhyay to introduce the subject that you have chosen to conduct. So 5 minutes each, and we will finish probably in half an hour time. That's
sure,
all. Please don't leave before lunch. So here is Ramakrishna Upadhyay.
We will not keep people hungry. So, Mr. Yadnaran Kamaje and his achievements. And since he is an entrepreneur, industrialist, businessman with ethical background, who has contributed so much to industry in a very, very ethical way. So we have titled this as Business and Social Responsibility. I thought business should go with social responsibility, and which is what Mr. Yajna has shown, and has done a commendable job over the last 40 years in this field. With all these eminent personalities here, I thought I should pick their brains on this issue and let us see what they have to say about this. It's not just social responsibility, I think it's even social justice when it comes to Mr. Yadnaran. You know, he has consciously looked for people who needed help, who needed support. I mean, people who can support their families. He has looked at that, I mean, from a very, very deep thought. I think it has gone deep thought into it, and going into rural areas and uplifting those, underprivileged people. That is what he has done. That's the reason why I thought, this panel discussion should be around that topic. Of course, we'll also be looking at Karnataka as a business, center, because that is what. Fortunately for me, when since a couple of days ago, I got hold of the India Today does State of the States report every year. They've been doing it for the last 19 years, and it would have hit the market today. But luckily, I have a friend in India Today who's executive editor, Mr. Raj Chengappa, who forwarded that report to me. It's a beautiful report, which looks into number of parameters across the country to see what the states are doing. They look at the states. They've bunched the bigger states together, that's about 20 states, and 8 smaller states separately. So these are assessed on 12 key parameters, 12 key development parameters. Among them are economy, infrastructure, agriculture, health, education, law and order, governance, inclusive development, entrepreneurship, tourism, environment, and cleanliness. I think each one of them is very, very crucial for the development of any state, and they go into very minute aspects of this when they come out with the reports. So I had a very close look at this report to find out where Karnataka figures. because we are in Karnataka and we would like to know where we are. And I found to my surprise that in none of the 12 parameters, Karnataka tops the list or in the top 5. And this has been the case all through. In the last 19 years, Karnataka has never come number 1 in any one of the parameters. This is a very shocking thing. Of course, we have done well otherwise in terms of industries and in terms of economic development, in terms of exports and this and that. But when you break it down to these specific parameters, Karnataka is found wanting. And as I was telling you, it has been ranked 3rd only twice in the last 19 years, that is in 2015 and 2017. So as I was telling you, there were 2 parameters used among the best performing big states. So which were the best performing big states among the 20? So this year, that is 2021, Tamil Nadu has topped the list. It has come number 1, and they have been number 1 in the last 4 years. This is the 4th consecutive year they're number 1 when you go through all these parameters. Well, where is Karnataka? Karnataka has secured 10th rank this year, looking at all the 10 parameters, 12 parameters. Compared to, it was 11th in 2020, 7th in 2019, and 6th in 2018. So we have been going down, right? And they have another segment where among the most improved big states, they look at most improved big states among the top 20. In that, Bihar has topped the list this time because the various developmental works they've taken up in the last 6 years. And it is followed by Assam and Madhya Pradesh. Where is Karnataka? Karnataka is ranked 17th. So this is the depressing state of affairs. And I thought I should open this discussion with the man who has worked with the government for a number of years, was one of the pioneers in ensuring that the IT industry came up in a big way, Mr. B.V. Naidu. I thought, he's the right person to tell us why Karnataka continues to do so well in IT sector, but why is that it has fallen behind steadily in the industrial growth and other parameters. Yeah, sure.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me start congratulating Yajna ji and Mrs. Yajna ji, woman behind Yajna, for the successful journey, a journey of entrepreneurship, journey of fulfillment, As somebody said, Yajna means nothing but worshipping for a purpose. I think all along, for many years, he has been worshipping to, reach and contribute for a purpose which he did for last 35 years and maybe 50 years, I think, 53 years his entrepreneurial journey. I was told he's in 18 years in Titan and, 35 years in Sona Group as an entrepreneur. So congratulations, Yajna ji. And second thing is, when you look at this book is little different from whenever the book releases that happens, right? One of the key things that what you find here is there are 62 people, felt so nice about Yajna and contributed to this book. I have not seen any of the book which has so much of, love and affection for a person. This has happened because somebody said that he did not do the business for the sake of business. He did the business for the sake of larger cause, the larger social impact what he created. And, I learned a lot. Some of you may not be knowing, Yajna and we all live in a community called Jacaranda in JP Nagar, and a couple of our walking club members are also, Nagendra and Uppali ji are here. And for all of us, Yajna ji is nothing but a walking legend, a walking encyclopedia. If I miss a day walking with him, I miss a lot learning from him. So we try to catch up with Yajna ji every day, and obviously he walks a little faster than me. with the kind of body what I carry, but I try to catch up with him, not just on the walking, but also many of his business acumen and many things he does share. That way, he is a person with a multifaceted encyclopedia, you know. He has the knowledge about everything, not just on the Titan, not just on the watches, not just on the economic growth, you know. Hats up to Yajna for the kind of thing. I generally compare Yajna ji with my journey, you know, if I may so, because of the 2-3 reasons. Entrepreneurship, when he started in 35 years back, is not that easy. There's no entrepreneurship. Now people talk about the startups and entrepreneurship. 35 years back, there is nothing. So he started a journey, which is the difficult times. Number 2, he started leaving a PSU job for 18 years, and he is a man who is having a lot of accomplishments in HMT, including bringing the Quartz technology to our country. Leaving such a job is a very, very tough, and transforming as an entrepreneur after a PSU job is the more toughest, you know. So like me, I also, for 20 years I was with the government. In 2007, I chose to become an entrepreneur, and of course, once you become an entrepreneur, the journey is not that smooth. Like Yajna ji used to keep, you know, sharing his experiences. Entrepreneurship is nothing but a combination of the roller coaster and the treadmill. You cannot stop the treadmill, because if you stop, you'll fall, and you have to take the roller coaster ride. I think that is what Yajna ji has done that. That way I take him as my role model for many aspects in his journey. I also gone through, some ups and downs, and then became a seasoned entrepreneur after many years. And thanks to Yajna, you must be knowing that whenever I walk with you, I also pick up your brain in many, many ways. Thank you. So he asked me some things very specific to the government. You know, the Karnataka is a little different to me. Right now, you know, even after leaving 15 years, I engaged with the government in many, many advisory positions. But right now, the last year, the government has created a new organization called Karnataka Digital Economy Mission. It's a new organization, a public-private partnership organization, where I'm the chairman of that organization. Not many states, not many governments invite a person who left the government for many years back and also in the industry, and asking the industry people to come and chair such a institution. That's the unique, the strength of the Karnataka is the unique combination and the relationship between the industry and the government. That has been there, irrespective of the changes of the government, irrespective of the parties, this relationship is very, very strong. And industry advises the government and government follows that. That is one of the reasons. I know some of the parameters what you talked about, the Karnataka is lacking, but for us I feel very proud that Karnataka is the number one in many ways, contributing to, in the technology industry, contributing to the 40% of the India's technology software exports happen from Karnataka. Now, not just that, Karnataka and Bangalore is the number one into the startup ecosystem. The overall country, if you have 80 plus unicorns, 45 to 50% of the unicorns are based out of Karnataka, based out of Bangalore. So this is the kind of environment we have. This is an excellent opportunity for entrepreneurs. The point what I wanted to draw attention to the entrepreneurs, don't bother about any of these reports or anything. The environment is excellent in Bangalore, environment is excellent in Karnataka, and the government is doing, I'll give you a simple example. Somebody mentioned about creating a small fund, right? Last 3 years, Karnataka has this program called Elevate. They select the companies from different parts of Karnataka and give a 50 lakhs. You know, no government has done that as a grant for the startups for their growth. You know how many companies got benefited? 498 companies got benefited by that scheme itself, Elevate scheme. That's the most successful scheme in the country, and other states are trying to follow. Number 2, government has spent 150 crores only as a grant giving to them, not even equity, nothing. You know, government is giving the grant. You know, this kind of an environment what you don't find anywhere in the country. You know, and people are, the other countries are looking at India, looking at Bangalore to emulate in those places. The last thing which I wanted to convey is, the country has an opportunity, huge opportunity. I know some of the entrepreneurs are here. Yajnaji said that you should come and speak to the entrepreneurs to motivate them. Yajnaji, your book itself is the greatest motivation. Nobody, nobody need to motivate that entrepreneur. And I saw that 5 entrepreneurs who came and spoke about what they are going to do, how they are going to motivate it. That itself, I think what Yajnaji is creating is a ripple effect. The ripple effect is not, it's a snowball effect. It starts in a small and likely to grow. Yajnaji, that way I think your family is an entrepreneurial family. What you wanted to achieve, creating a 50 entrepreneurs and 50 guys, each one of them creating another 50, that is the ripple effect we are looking forward. I'm sure that you will achieve that, in your journey, and we'll all will be happy to be part of that. Okay. So the other thing, I think Anand said that how you can work, Karnataka Digital Economy Mission, I do multiple things. One is supporting and helping the government. I also run a venture fund called Startup Exceed. We support the lot of companies. Last 3 years, we supported around, I think 18 plus companies, and all of them are, I'm happy to say that all of them are doing well. Yajnaji is also part of that fund. The second thing what I also created is an accelerator, which is a not-for-profit accelerator. It's not an intention of creating anything. An accelerator that supports these companies. Around 44 companies we supported through our accelerator. Government of India is supporting. And I will happy to share that 2-3 things which I can personally do along with your entrepreneurs. Number one, we can identify the entrepreneurs from the, we are talking about a new concept of Beyond Bangalore clusters. We wanted the entrepreneurship and economy to go to the other parts of the Karnataka, not just in Bangalore. The reason is, if our PM is talking about a $5 trillion economy and $1 trillion digital economy, how much Karnataka can contribute? Right now, Karnataka contributes around 8.4% of the country's economy. We wanted that to grow to the 12% next few years, next 5 years. And in terms of the digital economy, out of $1 trillion, the Karnataka should contribute around $300 to $400 billion. That's what we are. If at all you need to create that kind of an contribution, what you need to do is to take the industry to the spread across the other parts of Karnataka and identify the entrepreneurs there. So number one, Anand, for you, if at all there are entrepreneurs in any of these clusters, make them part of our Elevate program. We'll support them through any grant. Number two, I also run a small fund. Our accelerator runs a small fund called Startup Fund. Again, it's a grant fund. We can give 20 lakhs to around 20 companies next to 2 years. We have that fund. Again, I wanted to focus the Beyond Bangalore entrepreneurs in that. These are the 2 things which we can do. We can partner with whatever the efforts that you and Yajnaji are trying to do and Yajnaji entrepreneurs are trying to do. So I'll be with this happy note. I wanted to conclude here. And Yajnaji, congratulations once again, madam. Congratulations. You have been, a very successful journey. Even as smallest as small we could, achieve in your journey. I'll be happy for that. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Man.
Thank you. See, if you permit, I need to leave.
Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for, putting out some of the initiatives that the Karnataka government has taken. I think there's no time for deeper discussion on these issues. So I'll move on to Professor Murthy. So you are the founding director of this NIT, and you were on deputation from IIT Delhi. Since we are all talking about IGNA, I want to know what is that contribution IGNA Narayan did for converting what was just KERC into NITK, which is on par with any of the IITs in the country. What kind of contribution Mr. IGNA did for that, for transformation?
Friends, I thank the organizers for giving me opportunity to share my thoughts. Yes, when I took over as the so-called founding director of NIT, so it was a great challenging task, and Yagna was a great source of help to me at that point in time as a member of the governing council. And I'm extremely happy that NITK Surathkal is today ranked as the 10th in the NIRF rankings, and all the credit should go to the governing body of NITK, the director, the faculty, and the students and everybody for this purpose. And I rate students of NITK Surathkal in no way inferior to students of IITs. No, they're as good. There's no difference at all. And only thing is we have to give them a proper ambience, and they have done very well all over the world. And and there are also entrepreneurs. Yagna is a leader in that. And of course, the IITs have also produced very well-known entrepreneurs, whether it is Zomato or Flipkart or NIIT, and Deshpande Foundation and so on. There are many people have done that. So you ask that what perhaps NITK can still do to take it to greater heights. See, our concern is about 10 lakh students take the entrance exam, I think today. Even if I take 10% of them are equally bright, well, that means 1 lakh for school leavers should be of a world class. Okay, so we should have institutions which will accommodate about 1 lakh people every year in India to be trained as world class. Okay, so that is my calculation. So now we have 23 IITs and 31 NITs, and it is 54, and I should say we should somehow elevate to 100. Okay, about 100 students, 100 institutions to train 1 lakh engineers per year who should be world class. Okay, that means these institutions, maybe you can include other leading private universities, etc. Now, how to make them? See, IIT, we always said the two things is two parameters: excellence and integrity. Two parameters, excellence and integrity. So that has to be cultivated, and I think this should also be the pillars for NITs also. Therefore, you cannot sacrifice excellence either among the faculty or students, and then integrity. I think, I find one of the, today we notice one of the main problem seems to be ethics and integrity. Okay, so why are the Bangalore roads have a lot of potholes? The problem of ethics and integrity in their constructions. Therefore, I think, the how Yagna in a Sona group has come up to this level is because of ethics and integrity. Okay. These are the two things only. And I think why the Japan has gone among the leading countries in the world, ethics and integrity. Okay. They don't have much resources. Japan has almost no resources, but they have come up. Now the thing is that Indian human beings are extremely bright, intelligent, and so on, but they should be given an ambience, ease of doing business, ambience so that they bring out their best. Okay, and Swami Vivekananda says, if India dies, who lives? If India lives, who dies? Now, Therefore, if India lives, lot of good things in the world will die. Therefore, I think the central to this is also education. So, education must be given importance. Education is not just giving skills, but education is also to make them good human beings. Okay? So, that should be part of education. And I think you look at anybody who has come up, he comes up mainly because he's a good human being. In fact, Rajendra Pawar, who was my student, who started the NIIT, he extensively quotes Bhagavad Gita, in these things. And because a lot of good management techniques are there in Bhagavad Gita. That's what he said. Therefore, my couple of suggestions today is, see, if you do a proper diagnostics, then you can treat the patient. Okay. So let us see. One is the neglect of core engineering today. Now that is a very critical issue. How do you create? So India must create top class experts in all areas. This is one thing which is not happening. The other day one publisher told me there is one Kalinga University in Bhubaneswar. They take 4,000 students every year. Out of it, 3,500 are in computer science. About 100 are in electronics communication. And about 20 in mechanical engineering. Now, and about 50 in electrical electronics. Now, if this is the trend, if you look at even the CET, all this admission going on, look at the trend. Now, I don't know tomorrow who will produce power plants, who will build roads, who will build smart cities, who will have high-speed trains, and who will have aircrafts, who will build airports. Now, I think this is a matter of deep concern. Therefore, we should bring back, for everybody is responsible for this mess. Okay? So, we should bring back, I know artificial intelligence, machine learning, they are all very important. But they should be embedded in core engineering. Okay? It should be away from. Therefore, unless you bring even a small entrepreneurship, I think you bring in software in their functioning. All these are important. All this online shopping, everything it requires. But then you can't neglect the core engineering. That is one thing.
Yes, sir. I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll finish.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, one other critical thing is, I have told in one of the TV interviews recently, the bright school leavers of India today, total number is more than the total number of students in America. Okay? This is the number. We have such a bright potential in this country. Therefore, they must be properly trained. And lastly, one of the bane I find for the youngsters today is this entrance tests. One of the banes. And that they are killing their initiative because for 10 plus 2, for 2 years, they have become dehumanized, and all this coaching industry is really destroying their initiatives. Therefore, my simple suggestion for this country is, it is very important. Everybody should work for it. One nation, one entrance test. That is the only solution, and multiple entrance tests is a bane and for the students and a boon for the coaching industry. Therefore, this action has to be taken, but don't ignore their board performance. Therefore, my simple suggestion is, take the percentile of the entrance test, national, and percentile of the board exams, take the average of the two, and that number should decide whichever college in engineering they want to go wherever in this country. That is the only solution to save our children from the torture of 2 years. Okay? So I have just made a couple of suggestions for you to ponder over. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I will now move on to Dr. Ullas Karanth. He's a noted environmentalist and conservationist. I want to pose a very critical question to him. We are all in this stage where climate change and environmental issues are very big. How do we sensitize the businesses towards climate change, towards the environmental issues, there seems to be not much of a, I mean, from my perspective, not much of sensitivity among the businesses. How would you like? Yeah, please.
I'm delighted to be speaking here today, and this was quite a surprise because I didn't know there was a panel discussion devoted to issues. I thought I was supposed to talk about Yajna. So I will still start a little bit about Yajna because it links to the question you raised. My memory of Yajna, wearing a light colored blue shirt and white mundu and being a good student, 5 or 10% of KREC were not interested. I was out in the forest bunking classes. My passion was wildlife. Yajna was in the class studying very hard, carrying T-squares and slide rules, and he really achieved something through a very, very core model of human enterprise driving progress. This is not new. This is when Rajaji walked out of the Congress party saying, we should go down from this bureaucratic model to a free enterprise model. My father went out and translated his speeches. V.S. Kudwa, I don't know how many of you remember, Vaman Kudwa was a pioneer. Every car made in India had a Canara spring. His his youngest son and we were all batchmates, Baki Kudwa. So he built an empire the size of the TVS. Of course, it didn't persist because there was no enabling environment in India at that time. So Yajna has really benefited and remarkably, being a bureaucrat, in some sense being a secure government job, jumped over and became an entrepreneur. I find him quite amazing, and I would sort of capture it in the ways of a Tulu villager. It was standard practice for South Canara people to migrate to big cities to prosper because there was nothing in South Canara. So the father would be there and a journalist or somebody would come say, what's your son doing? He's in a big city, in a very big job. So it should be said in Tulu, but I'll translate it in English. What big job? He's something really big, either a chairman or a watchman or something like that. Now, Yajna truly is a chairman and a watchman. He's got there. So to come back to the question you raised, there's a global crisis and there are people trying to deal with it. My own expertise is in the more narrow area of biodiversity, wildlife, ecosystem services, which is essential for engineering and all these technologies and progress to be sustainable when the Earth's population reaches 10 billion, which is in 2050. Everybody has to be fed, everybody wants prosperity. The ecosystem, which is a skin around the earth, has to support this prosperity. So while this progress and technology are essential, we do need to address the issues that have driven me over the years, bunking classes, ultimately ending up in University of Florida and graduating with a degree in wildlife biology. And that's what I have been. I have been a wildlife biologist for the last 30 or 40 years. So there are two ways being advocated to address this problem. A majority of environmentalists, that's actually a profession that doesn't need any qualifications. All you need is a kurta sometimes. So a lot of them say the solution has to come from rejecting technology, somehow winding the clock back. But there are many of us who are trained in conservation, who are wildlife scientists, other professionals, in the business. We do not agree winding the clock back is a practical proposition because Earth is going to have 10 billion people who will seek prosperity, and they repeatedly vote for prosperity in every election in every country. So the solutions lie in the future, in better science, more sensitive science, less crude engineering and more refined approaches to solving these problems. Whether it is, I'll give you two examples. We are on the verge of nuclear fusion now. It was not marketable, but it's through persistence research we are getting there. Even fission energy has become so much safer now compared to the thing that blew up in Russia in Chernobyl, because that was a state-oriented nuclear thing which didn't even have a covering dome. So we do need to, and we talk about green energy. Most of the green energy is inefficient. Lot of it is destroying nature. Vast areas are being taken over for solar, microhydel and wind power, and many of them are not commercially viable. They are being subsidized through tax holidays. So we do need better engineering, but we do need to shed some of these illusions about what these better engineerings are. Two women won the Nobel Prize 2 years ago, Jennifer Doudna and Emmanuel Carpentier. This is a gene editing, CRISPR technology. You can revolutionize agriculture. When we fall sick for the first vaccine, we run for the mRNA. But in agriculture, we are keeping it out like poison. Both the political left and the political right are opposed to it. Even our progressive state, nobody even listens to some people who are advocating these solutions which will do away with the need for big dams, do away with the need for pumping NPK into the soil, do away with the need for poisonous pesticides to be sprayed. This is the technology that will revolutionize not just medicine and engineering in agriculture. So it is necessary for engineers to understand the environmental issues, where their knowledge can come into play, and I do believe the basics of engineering, which is actually mathematics and things like that, are necessary to solve problems in any arena. In my own life, I hated mathematics. Professor Mohan Hegde taught me extra tuition for free. Somehow I could get minimum marks and pass, which I did. But what I learned for 4 years, the differential equations, the calculus and stuff, suddenly rewarded me. 10, 15 years later, when I was doing my graduate studies in wildlife, my own field had completely changed. Population ecology, statistical ecology. My friends who had studied biology were floundering, but I was very comfortable with numbers, although I had bunked classes. So I was able to get into my field and take the lead in some sense in many areas because NITK gave me that background. Engineering gave me that background. And one thing engineers have is they don't think at random. Give you a problem, a good engineer will solve it. So in some sense, many of the environmental challenges are problems to be solved. When I went out and tried to count tigers, when I tried to count species, no methods were there. And I used statistical methods that are rooted in maths and engineering. So science is universal, engineering is an application of science. So in a broad sense, that is what I would say about the relevance of all these issues. We can't wind the clock back. We have to go forward to, that's all the talk about sustainability is all based on the idea that it can't be exhausting mining the earth for its resources alone. It is about rebuilding it using the best science and technology. With that, I want to really wish Yajna all the best. Many of your career paths, other than the shared spiritual experiences of more recent years, like you left a job, your wife struggled to support you. I left a secure job and I struggled to come up in my profession, and my wife supported me, and we all turned lucky. Some of it is luck that it worked out in our late years that we were able to flourish. So with all that, my best wishes to Yajna and all the hundreds of mini Yajnas he has started. So with that, I'll wind up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. I think it's not good to continue the speeches when people are hungry, but there are two more gentlemen. I need to give them time. I will say I request them to finish in 3 minutes, 1.5 minutes each, please. Mr. Krishna, please.
Good afternoon to everybody. As organizers are expected, so I would like to finish my speech within 2-3 minutes. Say about Yajnanarayan, if I start, it will take hours to complete the subject. And especially I have requested by the organizers to talk something connected with the industry associations. How and what is the contribution of Yajnanarayan? See, Laghu Udyoga Bharati is a small-scale industry association. It's a national-level organization. I was the state president, I was the national president, and now I am honorary consul of Republic of Mali. In all these respects, how Yajnanarayan has done his role, I'll just explain to you. See, Yajnanarayan Yajnanarayan was the founder member of the Laghu Udyoga Bharati, and he was grown up to the vice president of Laghu Udyoga Bharati Karnataka. And he has given so much of support to the micro and small scale industries, entrepreneurs, in such a way, more than about 150 people of our members are already taken his guidance and they are running their own industries and they are providing. You all know that he has given the employment for 1,000 or 1,500. Indirectly, he has given the employment for more than 25,000-30,000 employees. That is the information for you. And second thing is, not only as an entrepreneur he has taken the role, and he was a chairman of India Manufacturing Show, which we are doing the international exhibition once in 2 years. He was the chairman of 2014 India Manufacturing Show. And thirdly, not lastly, he was also member of the Vision Group along with me, 2010 to 2012. And he has given a lot of his services even to government of Karnataka, and his vision has taken, and then lot of policies has made based on his suggestion and all of things. And we are extremely happy to have such kind of wonderful personality in our organization also. And many people are following yajnas, and there are so many small yajnas are growing. So he was not only the manufacturer of his product, like watch products, he himself was the manufacturer of entrepreneurs. That very happily I am telling him. I wish him all the very best, and I don't want to take much of your time. Thank you very much, and thanks for the organizers for giving me such an opportunity. Thank you very much.
Last. I think you can go there. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think you go there, it's not working.
Yeah, I sit and speak because it will be faster, I feel so. Yeah, we are already running late. In fact, let me just start with the greetings to, Mr. Yajnanarayan, who is the hero of the day, hero and the bridegroom, and all the dignitaries who had blessed the function ceremony, as well as all the guests who had participated in this today's August gathering. And then Mr. Ramakrishna Upadhyaya, who has been the moderator for this panel discussions. I am S.R. Bala. I am the president in charge of NITK Alumni Association as well as General Secretary. I am representing NITK Alumni Association Global. In fact, I am the alumnus of NITK. I passed out in the year 1974, and I don't know, many of you know, I was the gold medalist in chemical engineering. So Dr. Palwai Reddy and Dr. S.S. Murthy may not be aware, because I was a student of Dr. Subbarao and P.N. Singh. And then I had mostly a stint in the, professional in the industry.
It's working? Hello.
Yeah.
Hi.
I was, in fact, worked all throughout after passing out and after completing my MBA from Faculty of Management Studies. I worked with, renowned companies like ONGC, Reliance Industries, Engineers India Limited, and then
And
the MNCs like in Singapore and Malaysia. Why I am saying all these things is I had a good professional career, but my contribution to society was minuscule. In fact, the topic given to me today is the business and society. So my contribution to society, as a person was minuscule compared to Mr. Yajnanarayan. Yajnanarayan, he had, in fact, I feel, very sorry that I did not meet Yajnanarayan earlier. Maybe in the midst of my professional career, I would have changed to, industry or, business, and maybe I would have been contributing more into society. So which I am doing now after retirement. Now I have taken the responsible position in the alumni association, and I am trying to do my best through the mission and goals and missions of NITK Alumni Association. So hopefully, I will be contributing to the alma mater as well as society. But, Yajnanarayan himself had served this alumni association for 15 years as president, and thereafter also there were, other successful presidents. So I hope I can do something, if not same something, to the society. Coming to the subject, the business and society, I'll restrict myself to the activities of NITK Alumni Association. In fact, earlier the business objective was merely to maximize profit. Profit was the main objective. Whereas now the present day the things have changed. In fact, Yajnanarayan is the best example for that. Yeah, we should be like the philanthropic social entrepreneurs, not just mere, business or businessmen or industrialists. So in fact, the best way to, guide the younger generations or next generation is to, lead them or provide them with the proper guidance during their studies itself. Like, we have to identify who are job seekers and who are job creators in their, the studies itself, whether they are doing engineering or even before also. And then provide them proper support and guidance so that they take the right path, and they, all cannot become job seekers, creators. So some we have to find out who have that capability and confidence, and then try to, guide them well, so that tomorrow they can become successful
Very right.
entrepreneurs.
Mr. Bala, very right, what you're saying is very right.
On
and you should, conclude.
on that ground,
Conclude.
so the NITK Alumni Association is providing scholarship, then all the subsidized fund and such things, and I hope we will be successful in this endeavor. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.